The bells of the convent rang for the last time, high in the cold hills of Thessaly, where olive trees bent beneath the autumn wind. A small monastery stood over the valley like a relic of an ancient world. Its frescoes, cracked by time, seemed to weep for the centuries gone by. Inside, a handful of nuns prayed in silence, kneeling beneath the trembling light of candles. Their voices rose like a whisper, lost within the stone they knew. In the distance, beyond the hills, the glow of torches drew closer. The sky itself seemed to redden. The Ottomans were coming. For weeks, the nearby villages had burned one after another. No one came to bring news. No messengers, no soldiers. Only the wind remained, carrying the scent of iron. The abbess, Sister Eleni of Lissa, stood before the altar. In her hands, she held an old silver crucifix, polished smooth by generations of prayer. "My daughters," she whispered, "if they breach our walls, keep your vows within your hearts. That is where they cannot take them." But she was wrong. No stone, no oath, no angel could stop the storm descending from the mountains. The first flames appeared at dusk, small, distant. Then the thunder of Ottoman drums shattered the night. Their red banners fluttered in the air like tongues of fire, and the bells, still hanging in the tower, rang by themselves, shaken by the wind, as if calling God to bear witness. The convent trembled. In the choir, the nuns clasped their hands. Some wept silently. Others stared at the floor, already resigned. Sister Magdalena, the youngest, still asked, "Mother, are they really going to kill us?" The abbess did not answer. She closed her eyes and recited the psalm of the night. Outside, the first clashes of steel struck the doors. The Ottomans spared nothing now. Their cannons were the voice of the empire. Each detonation sounded like a verse dictated by fate. The walls of the convent, 3 centuries old, shuddered, cracked, and finally gave way. The nuns fled toward the inner chapel, carrying what they could: icons, relics, a silver chalice. They did not seek to escape, only to protect the faith they had sworn to serve. But as the great door fell, a silence descended, the kind of silence one never forgets. And then the uproar. The Ottomans stormed the sanctuary. Steel clashed against stone, torches toppled, muffled cries filled the air. In the chaos, Sister Eleni stood before the altar. Her slender figure, lit by the flames, already seemed to belong to another world. She raised the cross above her head. "Lord, forgive them," she whispered, "for they know not what they do." But no one heard her. The thunder of drums drowned out the prayer. The fire spread to the main nave. The frescoes of saints twisted in the heat, their faces erased by smoke. One by one, the sisters were captured and gathered in the courtyard. The night turned red, and in that infernal glow, one certainty remained. It was not only a convent being destroyed that night, but a memory, a world. For to the conquerors, these women were not pious souls. They were symbols, remnants of a faith that had to be erased. Sister Eleni was the last to be dragged out of the chapel. The silver crucifix slipped from her hands and fell into the dust. A soldier picked it up, examined it for a moment, then tossed it into the flames. She turned her eyes away. In that moment, she understood that everything she had built would vanish, not through death, but through oblivion. And oblivion is a slower kind of death. Before we continue, take a second, subscribe, leave a like. It may seem small, but every gesture helps this mission to bring back to life the stories that time. The convent bell finally stopped ringing, and the silence that followed that night was not one of peace, but of an ending. When the sun rose over Thessaly, only a field of ashes remained. The Convent of Lissa, once a refuge of prayer and light, was now a smoking ruin. The walls had collapsed, the frescoes were blackened, and the wind carried away the ashes like unfinished prayers. In the courtyard, the survivors were gathered, 22 exhausted women, their faces streaked with soot and tears. Their white robes, stained with dust, still glimmered under the glow of Ottoman torches. The captain, a man with a hardened gaze, watched the scene without emotion. "The vizier wants proof," he said to his men. "Take them," none protested. They knew that what awaited them was not deliverance, but another kind of night. The soldiers bound their wrists with coarse rope and forced them to march south toward the port of Volos. Their steps lifted the dust from the scorched roads. The hills still echoed with the clash of battle, but they moved forward without a word. Some stumbled, others prayed silently. Sister Magdalena, the youngest, held against her chest a fragment of relic saved from the fire, a tiny blackened piece of wood she believed to be from the cross. Their march lasted 7 days. Under the sun, their lips cracked, their feet bled. The Ottoman riders laughed, betting on who would fall first. When one of them collapsed, the others lifted her without a word, for in that silence lay their final vow. If you can no longer carry the cross, carry your sister. At the port, the air smelled of salt and rust. The Ottomans had prepared the ships, long, dark, with heavy sails. The women were herded aboard like cattle, their chains clinking under the soldiers' boots. Below deck, it was pitch black. The air was thick, heavy with moisture. The waves struck the hull in a steady rhythm, like a funeral toll. For 12 days, the ship crossed the Aegean Sea. Storms lashed the deck, and the wind howled like a mourning choir. The nuns prayed in the dimness, whispering the psalms they still remembered. But hunger, cold, and salt gnawed at them. Some lost their voices, others stopped praying altogether. One night, when the sea was calm, Sister Magdalena whispered an Agnus Dei, barely audible. Around her, the captives, Greeks, Serbs, Italians, stopped moving. In that suspended silence, a strange peace settled. Even the waves seemed to listen. When at last the sails lowered, Constantinople appeared on the horizon. Its domes glittered in the rising sun, its minarets piercing the sky like blades. The sisters, exhausted, gazed upon that immense city, the city of the world's desire. They were sailing toward it not as pilgrims, but as trophies. They were disembarked at the port under the curious eyes of the crowd. Merchants, soldiers, and children stopped to watch them pass. Christian women in chains walking through the heart of the empire. Their mere presence was a public humiliation. The narrow streets smelled of spices and iron. Their footsteps echoed on the stones all the way to the massive gates of Topkapi, the Sultan's palace. There, beneath the shadow of marble columns, they understood the true meaning of the word conquest. In the great hall of the imperial divan, the Grand Vizier awaited them, a man with an impassive face, dressed in dark silk. To his left, scribes stood ready, quills in hand. The nuns were lined up before him like shadows. A translator spoke. "His Majesty the Sultan grants life to those who renounce their God. Those who refuse shall be subjected to the discipline of faith." Silence fell. Sister Eleni lifted her gaze, her face gaunt, yet still dignified. "We have already given everything," she said softly. "There is nothing left to take." The vizier's expression did not change. A simple wave of his hand, and the guards led them out of the hall. They were led deep into the palace, into a maze of narrow, damp corridors where light barely reached. There, behind iron doors, they were separated into small groups. Some were assigned to the laundry, others to cleaning, others still to the fires of the imperial kitchens. Their names were replaced with numbers. They were no longer women, nor believers, only shadows beneath an empire that claimed to own everything. But what the empire did not know was that a spirit already given cannot be enslaved. What these women had lost in freedom, they regained in faith. In the silence of the underground halls, they began to pray again, secretly, whispering. A cross was drawn in the dust. A hymn, barely audible, began to echo between the stone walls. The soldiers thought they were breaking them. Instead, they were being reborn. In the Ottoman records, they were listed as mute servants, but in the memory of the centuries, they became something else. The Sisters of Silence, the women who prayed in the dark, and their story, nearly erased, still waited to be found. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Beneath the pavements of the Topkapi Palace, the nuns slowly faded from the world. Their existence became nothing more than a whisper within the walls. The guards called them the Mute Ones, silhouettes who worked without a word, without complaint, without glance. Yet behind their silence, something endured, a faith carved from the stone of despair. The damp corridors of the basement were crossed by a cold breath, air thick with ashes and melted wax. They slept on the bare ground, fed on scraps, and prayed in hushed voices. When a sister died, the others drew a cross in the dust so her name would not be forgotten, and every prayer, every stifled word, became another scar in the shadows of the palace. One day, the Ottomans changed their method. Force was no longer enough. They sent scholars, imams and scribes, polite men with soft words and tempting promises. Rest, my sisters. Your God and ours are not enemies. Let the walls of the past crumble, and you shall be free. Free, but free from what, if not from themselves? They understood quickly that gentleness was only another form of conquest. To forget their God was to accept the death of the soul, and it was that death they refused. More than the blade, more than pain itself. The months went by. The number of sisters dwindled. Some gave in. 2 twins from Corfu were seen dressed in silk, their names erased from the records. The others continued in silence, praying. Sister Dearest, the eldest, had not spoken for a long time. When the guards questioned her, she answered with a calm smile. Call me Silence. Her name became a symbol, and in the darkness, silence became their language. They no longer complained. They waited, motionless, until the Empire truly forgot them. One night, as a storm rumbled over the Bosphorus, Sister Magdalena discovered, behind a crumbling wall, a sealed archway. She dug with her hands until the stone gave way. Behind it lay a small vaulted chamber, an empty space, forgotten by the palace. The sisters saw it as a refuge. They brought fragments of the world with them, a shard of mirror, a piece of cloth, a charred bit of wood. They made of it an altar. There, their final miracle was born, a secret chapel. Each night, when the guards slept, they went there. No hymns, no sermons, only whispers. Each told a memory, a prayer, an image from her former life, the convent bell, the scent of bread before dawn, the wind in the olive trees. Those memories became their psalms. Their voices formed a soft, almost unreal melody. They no longer prayed to be saved. They prayed not to be forgotten. Years later, a Venetian prisoner wrote that he had heard, beneath the harem, the voices of women singing in Latin. The Ottomans called it superstition. Centuries passed, and history fell silent once more. Until one day, long after the fall of the empire, archaeologists excavated the foundations of Topkapi. Beneath the dust, they discovered a small walled-up space, a room barely larger than a cell. On the walls, crosses carved by hand, strange symbols, a bird for each sister, a flame for each who had died, and on the stone, still legible, a Latin phrase, Lux in tenebris lucet, the light shines in the darkness. The discovery sent shivers through historians. What many had believed to be a legend had just found its proof, engraved into the very stone of the palace. The Sisters of Silence had existed. They had not vanished. They had left a mark that neither oblivion nor power could erase, and that is where their true victory lies. They did not outlive the empire. They outlived time. When one walks today through the gardens of Topkapi, nothing of those lost voices can be seen. But some visitors swear that on windy nights, a murmur still rises from the depths, a distant, feminine chorus, praying for no one, praying for memory itself. If this story moved you, tell us in the comments. What do you feel for these women whom history tried to erase? Their faith, their silence, their defiance, and above all, subscribe. Your support keeps l'histoire cachée alive, giving voice to those whom the centuries have silenced. Every click, every share, Every word in the comments helps rekindle a light where only shadow remained, because some truths, as painful as they are, deserve to be remembered. Even if history tried to bury them, their faith, their song, their silence still echo.